Dalvin Cook, 44 yards. I took the over.
Okay.
Josh Allen, 37 and a half rushing yards. I took the over.
Mm.
Garrett Wilson, 69.5 receiving yards. I'm smashing the over. Aaron Rodgers, 2 touchdowns. Give me that. He's
Yeah.
actually at 1.5. So
Yeah, I know. So that should be simple.
James Cook under. I'm sorry. I have him at 10 carries. And that to me, I don't know. I'm very scared about that. You know
That's a
how.
rough one.
Uh,
That's a tough one there.
and then lastly, Brees Hall under 53 yards combined rushing and receiving.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. It's a solid parlay. You got a little scary one there in James Cook.
Yeah, no,
10
James
carries.
Cook is the only freaking, outlier in all this, right?
And that one's a tough one there, man. That one's a tough one. Appreciate everyone coming in real quick.
Shout out to my guy, don't know.
Woo-hoo.
Houston Texans played a meaningful football game, Harley.
Man, that was a fun one, huh? That was an encouraging game. We finally get to see
Hmm.
what the Texans are going to be on Sundays. And there's a lot to dissect here.
Yeah, you say encouraging, and I have to agree. The when you generally lose a Texans game and you are the Houston Texans, you go on Twitter and it's just negativity. It's been that
Mm.
way the past 2.5 years. But after the loss against the Baltimore Ravens, Houston Texans lose 9-25. The D'Amico Ryans era starts with an L, unfortunately. But after the reaction was, yeah, I see something in this team. They look miles ahead of last year. You have a lot of fans already saying we are going to dominate the Colts. I have to agree with them. You saw a coached football team that didn't give up regardless on the score. You saw some good things from your rookie quarterback without three starting offensive linemen, didn't turn the ball over. And for the first half of this game, you felt really good. And, the crowd, the fan, the Houston Texans nation, they were okay with the outcome despite the loss.
Yeah, for the most part, I think everyone agrees with that. I think most Texans fans agree that this was an encouraging game.
Hmm.
This was a game that you got to see everything come to fruition. Sure, it's an L for D'Amico Ryans, but it's a long season. I didn't expect them to win the game, and that was when they had a healthy offensive line.
Mm.
Which now if I'm thinking about it, hindsight 2020, maybe a healthy offensive line, we're looking at a totally different game. This
Mm.
team was only down 1 point
Yep.
against the Baltimore Ravens, a Ravens team that should be in the playoffs or knocking on the playoffs, and they're contenders some way, somehow.
Yeah.
All right. So the Texans hanged with them for a half of football. We had our quick little halftime spaces,
Hmm.
and shout out to Cody and getting the spaces excited. Hey, you continue to play the defense you were doing in the first half, and if the offense can sustain some drives, they have a chance to win this game.
Yes.
They didn't,
Mm-mm.
but this was a lot to take away from, and man, that defense is fun to watch.
It's fun to watch. We'll start with this first since it is, the biggest, well, the highlight of the Houston Texans day
Yeah,
against the Baltimore Ravens. Will Anderson Jr. is going to be a problem consistently in the backfield. If Lamar Jackson isn't as mobile as he is, Will Anderson will have 2 to 3 sacks. He was being held a lot too. There was times where I was like, why isn't Will Anderson getting a flag here? The
yeah,
linebackers
there's a
look
few.
fast. Jonathan Grenard, hey, I'm gonna give you your flowers, Harley. You brought
Mm.
up Jonathan Grenard on the past two podcasts of watch out for him. I know we haven't heard anything from training camp, but don't forget when healthy, he was a force. Hey, he had a sack and was in the backfield as well. I was very surprised by this defensive line.
You had a rotating edge,
Mm-hmm.
defensive edges with Grenard, Hughes, and Will Anderson. Obviously, Will Anderson's taking the brunt of those snaps, but Jerry Hughes did his thing as well. He looked fresh when he was out there,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you want to do when you got guys coming around the edge in a rotating door. Jonathan Grenard, shout out to him, had himself a game, real good game against the Ravens. And you're looking at this and going, man, if you're getting that from Jonathan Grenard, and you know what you can get from a Will Anderson, sack 3 TFLs, thank you, Dono. If you are getting both of that combined at your
Mm-hmm.
defensive end spot and sprinkle in whatever Jerry Hughes is going to do for you, you got yourself a force at the defensive end position. A great combo in Jonathan Grenard and Will Anderson. That is something that we were all high on the secondary, and we'll get
Mm-hmm.
to them later. But the biggest question mark for this Texans defense was the front seven, defensive line, linebackers. How are they going to play? How are they going to look? What are they going to do against the run? The Houston Texans had themselves a damn good game
Mm-hmm.
against the Baltimore Ravens, stopping the run. That was never said out of your mouth for the last 2 years. It was horrible. Okay, hell, the last 3 years, it was horrible. So the Houston Texans, to me, if you're able to stop the Baltimore Ravens, a run-heavy team, Lamar Jackson, man, sucks that J.K. Dobbins got the torn Achilles. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that just sucks. But Justice Hill and just the whole mobility of Lamar Jackson in general, you shut them down for the most part of that game. Didn't have him ever get comfortable too much in this game. Houston Texans, if they sustained a few more offensive drives, specifically the offensive line, they're shocking the world on Sunday.
Mm. Yeah, no rusher had over 40 yards. Lamar Jackson led the way for the Ravens with 38. Gus Edwards, 32. J.K. Dobbins, 22. Hey, Zay Flowers even had 9 yards. But I agree, this run defense was surprising. Shout out to the big boys in front, Sheldon Rankins,
Mm,
Malik
mm.
Collins. They were doing their thing. And, when as we were watching the game, it was no missed tackles. And I really enjoyed the constant rotation of defensive linemen, of linebackers, of the secondary. You saw Henry To'oTo'o very early. You saw Kurt Hinish very early. And like you mentioned, man, they all looked fresh with the secondary, who were without Jimmy Ward, and they lost Jalen Petrie. He was hospitalized with some lung issues. I don't know if we have an update yet, or we do. Apparent, is he out yet?
Man, I have to look at Brooks Cabina. He did tweeted something out. I
Hmm.
think it was encouraging, though. I think it
Yeah.
was encouraging. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, Brooks Cabina did come out and say something positive about regarding that. So, I mean, that's good to hear. He got kneed apparently from Lamar
Mm.
Jackson in the chest, started coughing up blood. So it was a rather serious situation. He stayed overnight at a hospital in Baltimore. So, shout out to Jalen Petrie. Prayers up for him. He should be better now. So that's great to see.
Yeah, and also, guys, make sure y'all are liking today's live stream as we break down the Houston Texans Week 1 loss against the Baltimore
It's
Ravens.
awesome.
But Jalen Petrie, when he was out there, man, he was flying. He almost had a sack. He was making plays. That's what you want to see from, one of the captains on your team. Derek Stingley was locked down, targeted 2 times, one catch allowed for 20 yards. I don't think that was PI against Odell Beckham Jr., but Derek Stingley had himself a day. Steven Nelson had himself a damn good game too. The first interception turnover of the year was by Steven Nelson. Hey, I said it all throughout training camp. Steven Nelson has looked damn good. And even Tavier Thomas, we got to give him his flowers. Very good as well in
Really
the
good.
slot, man. We were very concerned about him getting a roster spot over Derek Stingley. But overall, I was very encouraged by this Houston Texans defense. And as the season, goes on, they are only going to get better. You
Yeah,
mentioned,
for sure.
uh, what do you
Sorry,
think
my
about
bad.
it? The entire performance.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
You
Thought you were
goodbye.
about to stop. Um, but I mean, Derek Stingley was again locked down. I mean, I've been saying it before during training camp. I just felt like Derek Stingley is going to have himself a Pro Bowl season.
Mm,
I think he's going to dance around the words of All Pro. We had John Crumpler on here with us a while back. Make sure you tune in to the Believe in Texans podcast where you
mm,
could check out that episode. It's one of our earlier ones. And he had mentioned, we asked him the question about, who do you think can be an all pro? And, obviously he mentioned Jalen Petrie. The overall strength of safeties in the NFL is lacking at times. And Jalen Petrie could possibly knock that door down. And I do agree with him. I said Derek Stingley,
mm.
and I have an agenda to push. I got my Stingley agenda to push because I have fans that are still sniffing up Sauce's ass every single day. They just get all up in there. They get all up in there. They're just face deep in that thing. They all in the sauce, all up in it. And I can't stand it.
Mm.
I can't stand it. It's like any chance they get to throw crap at that pick, they have an opportunity to throw it. And I am so glad to see Derek Stingley. I mean, only 2 targets.
That's
He was
insane.
only thrown to twice. Come on, that right there is insane. And we're gonna get into that Colts game later. But
No, I mean,
man,
there was a lot of hype around this Ravens wide receiving core.
yeah.
OBJ's, first debut as a Raven, he did the Ray Lewis dance coming out the tunnel, shut down by Derek Stingley. Zay
Boom.
Flowers, everything as advertised, led in
Oh,
receiving yards for
that
the
dude.
Baltimore Ravens. And the way they used him, I thought the Houston Texans would have used Tank Dell. They
Yeah,
target him so many times on third down, and they got him the ball in separation. They got him in screens. The Houston Texans on Sunday chose to run more screens with Noah Brown than Tank
yeah.
Dell. And is that a play calling issue, right? Do we have to throw some slander at Bobby Slowick? Or are we just not really trying to put a lot of pressure on a rookie? But me and you were there at every single training camp. Harley, I'm going to ask you, who was the best receiver there?
Oh, it was Tank Dell by far.
So what are we doing here? I would have thought Tank Dell would have been utilized a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Houston Texans, if I'm Bobby Slowick and everybody, I'm looking at what the Ravens did with Zay Flowers, and I am taking a page out of their book,
Mm,
putting it in my back pocket. No, don't put it in the back pocket. Actually, put it in the front of your binder. Set it right there. Plays to how to use Tank Dell
mm,
via Zay Flowers. Like that is what you got to do. Um, sure, when they did have Tank Dell out there in the few plays he had, there was some motioning with him, which I like to
mhm.
see. I like to see some pre-snap motion with Tank Dell. That's just going to make him a lot better once he gets moving. Excuse me. But Tank Dell, yeah, he needs more. He needs more playing. I mean, he needs more
Mhm,
playing time, man. I need to see more snaps from him. He was obviously the best wide receiver in training camp. The play calling around with Bobby Slowick for his first game, it was all right.
mhm,
But there's some plays where you nitpick. There's some plays where you question, like, okay, what the hell are we doing here? What is going on? The pre-snap motion with Noah Brown hiked the ball and the whole defensive line for the Ravens swallowed Noah Brown. Like that was just sad.
on a third and
Uh,
one.
yeah, that was sad. You had another one where you went for it on fourth down, and yeah, Noah Brown again. He's just getting eaten up by, I believe it was a defensive end that recognized the play. Could have been a outside linebacker, whatever. They recognized the play. The Ravens ate that play up. I
Mm,
mean, there was times that it just felt like the Ravens knew exactly what you were going to do, whether it was when you went on for it on fourth down, the third and shorts. That is something Bobby Slowick is going to have to improve on. Again, this is just week one. He's a
Mm-hmm.
rookie OC, so it is what it is. And I understand what Dono is saying there. I get it. D'Amico did had some the game management and everything.
What,
I
about eight
also
minutes
think,
left with no timeouts in the first half?
yeah, I
Woo!
also think that young rookie quarterback, young OC. It just felt like the play clock just kept going down
Mm-hmm.
just fast on them. And it was like by the time they got up to the line of scrimmage, they're already there with 10 seconds, 9 seconds left. And there was many times where you saw CJ Stroud clapping to hike the ball
Mm-hmm.
many, many times. And so that's just something that's going to happen as a young. You don't like to see it constantly in week one. You'd like to see more preparedness into that. But I think that's just some of the growing pains you're going to have to go through. We hope that is something
Mm-hmm.
that is improved going into week two.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I would say he had an okay day as well.
Yeah.
Um, One move that I just don't understand, you lose George Fant
Yep. Here we go.
and you move Michael Dieter to right tackle. Doesn't have the build for it, and immediately gets beat like a drum. CJ Stroud strip sack,
Uh,
and what are we doing here, Bobby Slowick? Yeah, I was I was very confused. It was like the cherry on top to this, because we were kind of expecting something from this Houston Texans offense. The run game was not there. Damian Pierce only got 11 carries. Um, but when you're down 14 plus multiple points, or you're trying to throw the ball, the offensive line, was the real outlier of the reason why this team lost. And CJ Stroud was sacked 5 times. If he didn't escape a couple of them, he would have been sacked 8, 9. You know, I would have loved that, to see a healthy offensive line, and we won't see that till week 5. Um, do the Houston Texans go out there and make a move? I don't know. Dotson Risner posted a airport photo, and someone circled the city of Houston. Is that a destination from Dotson Risner? I don't know, but I don't want to see my quarterback being sacked 5 times a game. And the Baltimore Ravens defense, they brought it. They were coming at CJ Stroud. Pause. But they knew that the O line was a weakness. One question that I want to ask you, Harley, is how did you feel about the Houston Texans running a lot of play action? It was the most I've seen in quite a long time. But we saw that CJ Stroud was better in the shotgun, as he was at Ohio State. He was in shotgun pretty much his entire college football career.
I mean, we'll see. When it comes to a Gary Kubiak offense, Kyle Shanahan's type of offense, and I'd probably have to delve. I should have done that. I should have dig deeper into their offenses and
Mhm.
see the percentages of times that they actually had play actions. Whether it was back here in Houston with Coobs or Kyle Shanahan right now with the 49ers. But yeah, they utilize play action a lot. And how effective was it? Because you only ran the ball 11 times with Damian Pierce. I didn't feel like they used Damian Pierce enough
Mm,
at times. And I know the offensive line was horrendous, but what's the point of a play action if you can't run the ball effectively?
mm.
I'm just going to pin my ears back every time, and that's what the Baltimore Ravens did. So I think that's just up to scheme, really. Play action again was just something that happens all the time. 3 times CJ chunked it down the field, receivers failed him. I don't know, man. The one where he threw it to Nico Collins and Kyle, I think it was Kyle Hamilton, was
Mhm.
just screaming right at him. There's no receiver in the NFL that can make that catch. I
I
mean, there is less than 3 that can try to make that catch. Less than 5, maybe, that can try. And there was a lot. I saw it on the timeline all day today. I don't know if you remember that pass. CJ kind of escaped the pocket, was rolling near the sideline, threw it across his body ish. You don't really want to see that, and just chunked it up to God, Dieter. Chunked it up to Nico Collins, and the safety just took him out.
Mm.
I mean, what can you do there? I saw a lot of people
I don't
complaining
have a
about.
problem with that throw
Yeah,
because it was right on the money.
yeah,
It hit Nico Collins in his hands. I
yeah.
saw them complain about the Dawson Schultz throw where he was covered by three, Ravens. The ball was in his hands.
Yeah, man.
CJ Stroud is surprisingly accurate. I have no issues with him taking shots like that if you could fit it in there, and that's what he can do. But with his performance, I think you see something there. When he had time to throw the ball, he was able to throw it. And when he had to make a play with his legs, he did. He had about 14 rushing yards. Shout out. Got me some money on Prize Picks.
Mm.
Shout out to gambling, man. I just got into it. I don't want to get too attached to it. But
Don't get too
um
attached.
with the better offensive line, I think CJ Stroud will really turn some heads, will really make some
Yes.
plays. And, as it goes on, we'll see more of Tank Dell. We'll see more of Dawson Schultz. Only 4 targets, man, 2 catches,
Yeah,
4 yards.
that's unacceptable.
I mean, Dawson Schultz was one of the best tight ends in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. He needs to be utilized as a weapon, and that needs to start sooner rather than later, right? I think, it felt like Bobby Slowick wanted to give some chances to the veterans, right? And it just didn't work out that way. One veteran, though, Robert Woods, shout out to you. You had yourself a very good day. 2 third downs were thrown. I'm sorry, 3 third downs were thrown to Robert Woods and completed by Robert Woods. So shout out to the veteran. Um, Another wide receiver had a good day, Harley. Nico Collins.
No, you don't say.
Mm, 80
Don't
yards,
say.
6 catches. How do you feel about the wide receivers' performance in week one?
I thought Nico and Robert Woods played well.
Mm,
A little unexpected maybe, but hey, I thought they played well. I thought they played really swell. Robert Woods was someone that it felt like CJ Stroud relied on. He
mm,
needed something to happen. Well, boom, Robert Woods, quick little 4, 5, 6 yard catch, So, and that's what's needed. You need something. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, or whatever. I'm not gonna get into UG freestyles being an absolute idiot on the live stream right now. I mean, oh well, buddy. Go ahead and be a Cleveland Browns fan if you want Deshaun Watson.
mm.
Go ahead and get down there, just like I mentioned about Sauce Gardner sniffing his ass. Why don't you go down there and do that to Deshaun? He might spread it wide open for you, bud. My goodness. Anyway, I do appreciate that, the slander around Nico Collins was a lot this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I always saw the dude as a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", wide receiver. He has a lot of intangibles and a lot of skills that the rest of this receiving, besides Tank Dell, uh, they don't have
Mm.
necessarily. And I thought that with a better quarterback in CJ Stroud, that's not breaking news. CJ Stroud's a better quarterback than Davis Mills. So that to me should equate to better play from Nico Collins. And we got to see some of that on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, both of them looks solid. Noah Brown,
Mm. Yeah, I agree with Carlos. We have to use tight ends to help block and need to run the
yes.
ball way more. Shout out to Carlos. It was his birthday a couple of days ago. But,
Oof.
with Nico Collins, right? I don't want to be that guy on pace for 1,300 yards. I don't want to be that guy
Hey, there we go.
on pace for
Ah,
1,300 yards.
ah.
Wide receiver one. Nico Collins, luck, man. Shout out to Nico for kind of answering the bell, right? His 2 catches in the fourth quarter, one of them was on a 3rd and 16, was 1 yard short. The other one was like a little slant/post, and he took a 26 yards. So definitely got into a connection with CJ Stroud. I need this to continue. Luminaire said, why
This
Mills
is a
had
good
his
point.
helmet on like he was gonna come in at one point. I don't know. But CJ Stroud was never I mean, I wouldn't say never the reason why I felt like we were losing, right? He obviously had some plays where
Yeah.
he straight out missed his wide receivers. I gave him a C yesterday, a C plus on his performance. I got some hate from it, right? I just felt like, a touchdown would have been great. I mean,
Yeah.
no interceptions, fantastic. But overall, CJ Stroud, I'll give him a C plus. If you want me to give him a B minus, I'll do that.
Cool. We can push it to a B minus, I guess. I don't know. CJ Stroud, I think that C plus is fair.
Mm.
There's also some throws that he had, and they were overthrown. They went out of bounds, overthrown. There was a few there. I think at some point that the pressure did somewhat get to him at a time. It's tough to stay comfortable when you know as soon as I hike this ball, I got to get rid of it. And if I don't get rid of it, okay, I got to run. So those are the first two things in your mind besides, oh, wait, I have to actually pass this ball.
Yeah.
So the offensive line did him no favors whatsoever. Maybe that's what the fans are trying to say. Maybe it's an unfair grade because of the
Mm.
offensive line. Maybe. I don't know. If that's the case, then okay, fair point. The offensive line was horrible. And the problem with this is we got to see it for 3 more weeks.
Yeah, no. And like I look at the offensive line, I see 3rd and 6, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 21, 3rd and 16. Ooh, that's a lot to deal with. This offensive line was a huge issue. Shaq Mason, if you are a PFF guy, don't go look up his grade. Let's not forget we traded for him in the offseason. One of the 3 players to get a 3-year extension. 4 pressures allowed. Did not have a good day grade wise. Laramie Tunsil, 2 penalties, both of them on 3rd down. One of them was on 3rd and 3, where CJ Stroud scrambled and found Tank Dell. It would have been a 1st down. Here we go. Holding call on Laramie Tunsil and Harley. I don't think that was a hold.
That was not no.
I,
I'm about to say something. That was not no hold, man.
I
That
do
was
not think that was a hold. And his false start was, I mean,
ticky tack.
ticky tack, brother.
Especially when I'm looking at that Thursday night football game, and I'm looking at
Hey,
what's his name from Florida, the
Juwan
right
Taylor.
tackle. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, I'm looking at him going, and he's already moving, man. I mean, what are we doing?
Mhm.
Come on now. So come on. That I don't know, man. The 2 penalties on Laramie Tunsil were a little bullish to me, but it is what it is. The whole offensive line, I mean, it was just penalty after penalty.
Well,
I think it
George
was like
Fant looked
13.
good
Uh, George Fant was okay.
till he got
I know
hurt.
PFF gave him a good grade. I don't know. I don't know what they were grading him on. I didn't. I mean, it was mid. I guess in comparison to the rest of the guys you had on the offensive line, sure he did all right. I mean, if that's how you're grading it, so I don't know what PFF's looking at with George Fant. I didn't see a whole lot of wow. Uh, but I will say this, Lumineer just mentioning it now.
Shout out to
Uh,
Lumineer.
shout out to Lumineer. Uh, Jared Patterson wasn't too bad.
I was very surprised.
I was like, huh, 6th round rookie didn't look bad. I didn't really see. It's always bad. I don't want to see the offensive linemen's face masks.
Mm.
Because if I'm seeing their face masks, that means their whole body's turned running towards CJ Stroud. And I don't want to see that. I don't. That's just bad football. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to see it. It just sucks. We got to see this for 3 more weeks. And
Mm.
this, I know everyone's talking about, oh man, we're going to beat the Colts. We're going to beat the Colts. We're going to beat the Colts. This offensive line is so bad that it can make you lose this game.
No, I 100% agree. That's why I'm screaming, go out there and get Dodson Risner. And I don't. This man played 900 snaps last year. Was he that bad of a teammate? What was he? I don't know what he did. No one will ever know, except for the people inside the Denver Broncos locker room. But Dotson Risner is better than Josh Jones. And speaking of Josh Jones, you don't even know if you're going to have George Fant next week. He is, I think, right now questionable. Dotson Risner is an easy plug and play at left guard. 28 years old. You could get rid of him in the offseason. But when you're talking about CJ Stroud and he got sacked 5 times, so by the time we have our starting offensive line, CJ Stroud would have already been sacked 20 times if we are going off of projections.
Mm-hmm.
I am worried in terms of, that gets to a quarterback's head. I
Yeah.
saw it with David Carr. I saw it with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I do not want to see it with rookie quarterback CJ Stroud. We need
Yeah.
to just keep on investing into this offensive line. But it just was not good.
Wasn't the offensive line's been an issue for I think our entirety of the organization. Um, a lot of slander with Bobby Slowick in the comment section. I'll just say this: uh, he can't. I mean, it's tough to let the offense flow when you only got 2 seconds to throw the football, and he knows that too. He's not an idiot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of implications here that Bobby Slowick doesn't know what he's doing. And I've seen it on the timeline as well for Twitter. And I'm like, come
Mm-hmm.
on, man. Like, what can he do? The offensive line, you're not playing at all with any of the guys. The Ravens know that, okay, this is probably what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to get the ball quick
Mm-hmm.
out of CJ Stroud's hands. So how do you stop that? Just play some press coverage. And the Ravens mix and match blitzes as well. We're going to make him feel uncomfortable. He's a rookie. Just push him out of that comfort zone. Don't ever let his feet get wet. And they did that throughout the whole game. And it really felt like, hey, the Ravens dropped like 15 points on you in the third quarter. And it just, as soon as the second half started, I thought maybe, hey, we got the ball to start the second half. Maybe they could go down there and at least kick a field goal and go up by 2, grab some more confidence. But that just did not go your way. Offensive line is a big issue. Dalton Risner is,
Is he a
I'll
need
say
at this
this.
point?
I mean, isn't he? I'll say this. Look, Nick Caserio loves his 1-year deals. Well, I mean, what's wrong? What's wrong with giving Dalton Risner a 1-year deal?
He's a cancer.
Apparently so, according to Broncos fans and people that are in national media, continue to call this man a cancer. And I'm just like, I don't care what he is, because I'm sorry, we need somebody to protect CJ Stroud. We see that when CJ Stroud has time in the pocket, he can dissect the field. He is accurate. He's a really solid to good quarterback when he has time. And
Mm.
that's just going to help Bobby Slowick out as an offensive coordinator when he has time to actually open up more of these plays and let it loose a little more with a CJ Stroud. So a smart man would think, hey, Dalton Risner, sure, it's not going to solve your offensive line issues, but damn it, a Band-Aid at least to stop some of this bleeding would be a very, very helpful. And if he performs well, then why not give him another 1-year deal? Kenyon Green, you're back. Dalton Risner, you,
Fight
Green,
for it.
duke it out for left guard. Whoever's the best man wins. And we just run with it like that. And if Risner gets upset that Kenyon Green, let's say, beats him out next year, bye-bye, I don't need to see you anymore. That's how you do it. I mean, right now, we don't know who's going to be right tackle. You mentioned Josh Jones. He could be right tackle. You could sign Dalton Risner, put him at left guard. And your center, as of right now, Jarrett Patterson, that to me makes me feel a lot more better, confident than Josh Jones, who's a tackle playing guard. Then you got Jarrett Patterson, who sure played well, still a 6th-rounder. And then
Mm.
you got George Fant, who has not looked good at all through training camp, preseason, and yesterday he was mid at best. So there's something you can do to improve this offensive line. And what upsets me is that you're not taking the obvious route. The
Mm.
gold is right there. You're seeing the golden ticket from Willy Wonka's chocolate bar, and you don't want to grab it. Why not?
Jerome T. Green says we lost the game we expected to lose, and this fan base still wants to go into
Thank you.
meltdown mode.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think we're going in meltdown mode just yet, but
No.
like you said, the obvious choice is to go out there and get Dawson Risner. Now, we were screaming Dawson Risner in the offseason. We were screaming for him once we found out that Kenyon Green was going to be out for the year. And we are saying it right now. Josh Jones is not the answer. I mean,
No.
shout out to him for being thrown out there in the fire and doing the best he could. 2 penalties on 3rd down. And then this offensive line is still unhealthy. There's so much moving around. You have to keep on bringing in talent, man. You cannot just let CJ Stroud get sacked 5 times again. Because let's say Juice Scruggs does come back. He has a hamstring injury. Those things linger. Let's say Tytus Howard comes back. And what if he's not ready to come back in and it's just another week, right? You need to be prepared for everything possible. And I don't think anyone's in meltdown mode, man. Like,
Yeah.
um, not the case. We mentioned in the beginning that the reaction to this loss from the Texans fan base was positive. Like I said, we were all expecting to go out there and have a strong showing against the Colts, but there was a glaring problem in the offensive line. Now we knew that coming into week 1, and it got exposed by the Baltimore Ravens. And like Harley said, it doesn't get easier. Um, but other than that, man, a tough way to start out the season.
It's rough. It's a little rough. Again, the biggest thing for me is you got to see this for 3 more weeks, man. I mean, oh my goodness. And if anyone's having a meltdown, it's Jerome T. Green, apparently. Just commenting over and over. Apparently, he's upset about this King ransom we gave up for Will Anderson. If anybody deserves no hate whatsoever, it's Will Anderson. And that's what makes me laugh because Will Anderson is an absolute monster. He was an absolute machine. Will Anderson is going to be the face of your defense for many, many, many years to come. I mean, like you said earlier, and if anybody's missed it, make sure to check out the Believe in Texans podcast. You could
And
always
like today's live
rewatch
stream.
it. You could always rewatch it as always, anywhere where you stream all your podcasting platforms. You mentioned it earlier. If this quarterback was not mobile, if Lamar Jackson was not as mobile, Will Anderson's getting 2-3 sacks yesterday's game.
Easy.
Easy. So, I mean, it is what it is. Will Anderson, sure, you did whatever you did to get him. Who cares? You got him. And he's going to be a defensive dynamo. There's people, there's local media that are putting those words out there that he could be better than JJ Watt. And that's a tough task. And I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that.
The
But
only rookie
oof,
to get a sack in his week 1 debut, our boy Big Sarge. Shout out to Big Sarge Media. He just interviewed owners Cal and Hannah McNair on his YouTube channel. Go check that out. But he said that Will Anderson Jr. will be better than JJ Watt. I mean, you start off week 1 with a sack against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, against one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. You have 16 more games left. Will Anderson Jr., what are you going to do this season, man? But he's special.
very special. I'd like to see more. That's all I like to see.
Mm.
Again, he could have 2 to 3 sacks if the quarterback wasn't as mobile as a Lamar Jackson. Man, we could be. I mean, you imagine if he had 2 to 3 sacks week 1, and then our tune might be singing like what Big Sarge is saying. Maybe he is the next JJ Watt esque kind of player. There's nothing wrong being similar to JJ Watt. That's
At
a
all.
great compliment. So hey, if that's what I'm getting, sign me up. You can have those picks. Sign me up. I'm down for that. Will Anderson, I am excited. I am happy that he is in a Houston Texan jersey. I can't wait till he's wearing that battle red. That's going to look sweet.
Man, it just sucks that the Browns beat the Bengals.
Why'd you have to go there, man? See, I wasn't even
Man,
thinking about that.
man, that's tough.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, they said just didn't look good. He looked rusty. He didn't play any of the preseason, by the way. Obviously because he was hurt. But they said he looked rusty. That was the big thing that people kept saying. That's national media talking. So who knows? You know, a lot of national media, they seen Joe Burrow have success, so they're not going to say he had played
Mm,
bad. They're just going to say he was rusty. He played bad.
mm,
He looked like ass.
mm.
All right? I mean, goddamn dog water. Screwed over my third fantasy league. Dumb son of a gun. I had him as my starting quarterback. Joe Burrow said, nah, not today, big boy. You're going to get these measly little 5 points.
The Dallas Cowboys defense ruined my night. I mean, I'm up by 15. I I don't even watch the whole first quarter. I'm all right, let's roll one up. Let's end the night. I
Yeah,
check
spark one
at
up.
the end of the game, 35 points. Speaking of
I knew
that,
it was I knew it was crazy. I mean, the Giants were driving down the field.
oh,
Just
T.
going right
Higgins
down the
had
field.
0 points.
Stop,
Speaking of
man.
T. Higgins, will be
That
a
hurt.
free agent. Mike Evans will be a free agent. One of them is going to be a Houston Texan. I'm calling that right now.
No, you just said that Nico Collins is on pace for 1,300 receiving yards, and he is wide receiver one. Why not get two wide receiver ones?
Why not?
Two's better than one, right? No, I mean, Conor McGregor, sign me up. I'm down for that, man. Give me Mike Evans, give me T. Higgins, one or the other, and C.J. Stroud with a legit wide receiver. Oh boy,
Mm.
now we're getting into fun territory.
And as we come to an end, and as we wrap up week 1, the Houston Texans
Mm,
lose to the Baltimore
you know what it is.
Ravens 9-25. Harley, a few words to put week 1 to bed.
What? I didn't hear
A
that
few
last part.
words to put week 1 to bed. How are you feeling after week 1?
Encouraged,
Okay.
dominant defense,
Mm.
sleeper fantasy pickup. By the way, shout out to anybody with the fantasy defense. People that like to stream defenses. Texas defense, not a bad one to look at. But encouraging, dominant defense. The offense is a work in progress.
Okay.
But overall, I'm content with it. This team, see, we'll have people talk bad about them. This team, as it is every year, all 32 NFL teams, they will not look the same week 1 as they will week 4, as they will week 8, as they will week 16, 17, and 18, and so on. So the Houston Texans will be a better team as the season goes along. You hope that your offensive line becomes fully healthy by week 5. That gives you the 4 weeks to get away. In week 5, you're having a fully healthy offensive line, almost fully healthy. And hey, Juice Scruggs could be back. Titus Howard could be back. And then you could be running on diesel.
Mm.
And then we can see what this offense is actually all about. And then you can open up the playbook. And then you can see what CJ Stroud's about. Then you can see Dameon Pierce feast and Devin Singletary feast. And Dalton Schultz maybe even thrown a little bit more. So, it's just got to be patient right now. We got to be patient. The injury bug is being a douche this year.
Yeah, and it just took out Aaron Rodgers. Had to be helped off the field. It's like as soon as I put money on a player, bro, like they dude, something happens, dog. Something happens, bro. I'm done. Like, bro, like regardless if it was $10, but Aaron Rodgers, he gets out on his first drive of the game. Like, is this like the football gods are doing me dirty? The Prize Pick God, whatever he or she is, they don't love me. Like plus 1.5 tutties. What are we doing, bro?
I that.
It just happens to me, dog. It happens to me. As soon as I want to put a little $5 here, $5 there, they now become the worst. Is Damian Pierce under 56 yards? Are you kidding me? Breeze Hall on his first carry just got 26. I have him under 53. What are we doing? He's not even supposed to be starting. Why is he the starting running back?
Oh man. Oh my god.
I mean,
Yo, you need to bet on Deshaun Watson. You got this bad juju. I need you to be betting on Deshaun Watson, my guy. Sheesh. I don't know what to tell you, my guy.
I grew up hearing that. Man, I lost my old clapping, bro. But I grew up hearing that. I grew up hearing that gambling is bad.
It's true.
And Aaron Rodgers on his debut is helped off the field. Nonetheless, man, as we wrap up week 1, that is Harley, my dog, at the lead_Houston, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers at the end of the season. He will definitely get there. You can search me up on YouTube. Just type in 713 Houston Sportcast in the search bar. And thank y'all so much for being here for week 1 of Believe in the Houston Texans. Make sure you guys like this live stream and check out the podcast. Have a rest of a good Monday night. Y'all have a blessed day.